we're talking to the internet, but we're also talking to the world.
All right.
Okay. Yep. So tell them who you are, what you do, where you're from, and what we're going to be doing.
Most people call me Jude, so Jude is just fine. And I'm from Cameroon. I live in DC right now. I've worked in various international companies, gotten a few degrees, and from DC now I work with my associates on developing investment projects in Africa, where we focus on aligning development. I've actually come up with an equation for it. So development, which we define as infrastructure, aligned with natural resources, specifically energy and technology. And from that alignment comes explosive growth. And why it's relevant to this conversation right now is Africa is going to space.
Yeah. Yes.
Africa is going to space. It's come up as a big surprise to everyone, because no one thought to associate the two, wrongly so. So I'm not going to get into a whole dissertation about how actually astronomy was invented in Africa, because the oldest megalithic structures that we have on Earth, several thousand years older than the one in Britain, what's it called? Than Stonehenge, are actually in the African Sahara. So we can talk more about that yesterday. So it's a very old tradition that Africans are reviving now, and using it in ways that are absolutely innovative for development, which has all sorts of consequences in terms of their own transformation, and also strategic consequences about how the whole lower Earth economy is going to develop. I hope we can talk about the implications that has for Elon Musk, which are interesting. Because Africa may actually beat Elon to having a million satellites. This is just if you look at the mathematic progression of the number of satellites that have been launched by Africans. So both in terms of the how, the why, and the ambition that has been rolled out by different African countries at the state level, but also increasingly at the private sector level, and the alliances and the connections that are made worldwide. Africa is a rising force whose impact will be felt even more going forward.
I've been saying for quite a while that development of the African Space Agency rivals and could in fact eclipse the European Space Agency.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I know that sounds like a wild claim, but
it's gone faster.
It's
more organic.
More nations and larger budgets, arguably. Not yet, but soon. Yeah.
Plus, we already have at least 2 African launches project. One in Somalia, which is the collaboration between Turkey and Somalia, and another one that's, I think, from last year between Djibouti and a private company from Hong Kong. They're setting up a launcher. There are others coming. I hope in my country, Cameroon, and probably in the countries of the Sahel. Also, I would bet somewhere in Southern Africa. It'll be either Namibia, because Namibia seems to be the best candidate, because they're one country that is putting a strong emphasis on those technologies, lower Earth orbit, but also the wider data economy, because that's what Africa is doing, basically, with space. Africa is using space to build the digital economy, the big data economy. And that big data economy, combined with Africa's needs and Africa's resources, is going to create that explosive growth. So, and these days, that also leads you into questions of geopolitics, because obviously that alignment aligns with questions of sovereignty, but also technology, because Africans are using their own specific technologies. I'm lucky enough to be working with some of those companies, and one of the countries to watch in particular in that regard is South Africa. There's some great innovative local technologies that are developed. Actually, it's repurposing often of technologies that are already in use, like radio. Our partners in South Africa are using radio technologies in ways for the space sector in ways that others hadn't, and so useful that even the U.S. Navy is interested in it. So we're actually partnering with them because it presents more efficient and cheaper solutions. So that's one example. There's Kenya, and in terms of the ambition, there's Rwanda, which is a country that has made technology the cornerstone of its approach, which they're already doing in mobile technologies and in all sorts of ways. But interestingly, they've reserved routes, space routes for satellites in the hundreds of thousands.
Wow.
They've reserved them.
Yeah.
This is and they've already launched, I think, 2 satellites, most nano satellites. I think most of there's about 160 plus satellites that have been launched from Africa. Most of them are nano satellites. But in the case of Rwanda, clearly they have a vision of hundreds of thousands, if not 1 million satellites, organizing and channeling Africa's data.
Okay.
For those different purposes.
Will the system absorb 1 million satellites without turning into 1 billion pieces of space junk?
That is a great question. Elon seems to think. He doesn't see a problem with it.
Oh, well, say no more. If Elon thinks it, well, by God, it's got to work.
So if Elon Musk thinks he's okay, I think I'm fine.
Oh, God. It's sounding like a Monty Python sketch now. You know, I mean, okay. All right.
So it's so actually it'll be interesting because actually you're already starting to see a level of competition between the business models rolled out by Elon Musk, which has to be given their due in terms of their productivity, their innovation, whatever else you think about the man's politics or what type of businessman you have. You cannot contest what he's been able to do.
And as I said earlier in the show, you know, he's a guy who he sees an opportunity and he takes it.
Absolutely.
And so if Blue Origin is going to give him an opportunity by blowing up on the pad, well, okay, he's going to take it.
Interestingly, what he's meeting in Africa is he's meeting rising local ecosystems and increasingly integrated through outfits like the African Space Agency that have their own ideas about how to seize those opportunities and how to organize them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's happening to him with Starlink. That is going to happen to him with SpaceX as well, because you will have African launchers who will compete with SpaceX and have their own ideas about exactly what type of satellite constellations should be out there. Why should Elon be the one to have 1 million satellites?
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, etc. So that's sort of the node. Well, let's hope it's a productive level.
And this is only the tease for what he's going to be talking about tomorrow. This is just, this is, the tip of the iceberg of this man, obviously.
Because I'm a 46-year-old geek. So when
Michael, do you think this is going to be just an amazingly fun panel tomorrow? Oh my God. It's just going to be great.